Okay. Mm. 606 Talk 1073 FM WBRP. Good morning, everybody. Brian here with you. Jake Barty producing. We call it Mornings with Brian Haldane, and we are off and running on this Monday morning. Wow. I mean, been a minute since we've been able to say that, right? Last week, Labor Day. Week before that, we were in the middle of a storm. This is the first full week, just raring to go. Back to normal for most of us. For some folks, there's still a lot of Hurricane Ida-related struggles with the potential for rain in the forecast to boot. You heard from meteorologist Marissa Nuzzo right there heading into the show about that. Actually, we're going to talk a little bit about that as well as the show wears on this morning. Tropical storm Nicholas going to be making its way in through the Gulf into Texas. We are going to see some of the effects of Nicholas, maybe not all the way to Baton Rouge, but definitely throughout parts of Louisiana as well. We got a lot of ground to cover today, a lot of different items to talk about. COVID looks like that fourth surge. I think they're officially calling the fourth surge on the downturn now. So when's the fifth surge coming? The Delta variant looks like hospitalizations are on a decline, which I love that they can finally say that. They're down by, 40% or so over the last month. Pretty ridiculous number, and they're just, it looks like we're getting to where the peak is over. Well, no, peak was over a month ago. That being said, should we be on the lookout for the next variant? We'll talk about that a little bit as the show wears on as well. We got a lot on Hurricane Ida recovery. Going to talk with Dr. Melissa Eddie Shelby from Our Lady of the Lake about not necessarily recovering from Hurricane Ida, but making sure when it comes to, from a medical standpoint, you're ready to go for the next one. Are you ready to go for the next one? I mean, the peak of hurricane season was, Friday? September 10th, I believe, is the unofficial peak of the season. Today being September 13th, we've still got a lot more time before November 30th, which is the official end of the season. So, Dr. Melissa Eddie Shelby in our Medical Monday segment presented by Our Lady of the Lake. Also in the 7 o'clock hour, Stephen Waguespack from LABI joins us. I cannot wait for this because I have no doubt, I haven't even talked to Stephen yet, but I have no doubt we're going to be talking about the vaccine mandate coming down from President Biden. Any employer with 100 or more employees has to have a mandate on the vaccines within their business. This is going to be a logistical nightmare. This is going to be an unenforceable logistical nightmare. And I wouldn't be shocked if it's just straight up ignored. We'll talk with Stephen Waguespack from the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry in our next hour about that. In the 8 o'clock hour, looking forward to talking with Kim Bowman and Professor Wayne Newhauser from LSU about pediatric cancer research. The Kim Bowman, of course, is Bella Bowman's mother. The Bella Bowman Foundation has been very, very active in moving things forward here. So we'll be talking about that. And coming up this hour, can't believe I buried the lead here. Richard Condon's going to hop back on. We started doing a thing on Mondays, Condon's Countdown at 6:35, where Rich comes in and runs down the top 2 or 3. It's supposed to be 3, but you know how he goes. Top 2 or 3 stories that have his eye or his ear in the morning. Condon's Countdown coming your way about less than 20 minutes from right now. Here's where I want to start, though. How great did Saturday feel? Did you make it out to campus on Saturday? I mean, the weather could not have been more made to order. Like, if you had asked for weather to be served up the way you like it, that was about perfect as far as I was concerned. But it was great being out on campus, seeing the tailgating, experiencing football again, being frustrated with LSU football even though they won by 27. Wait, did I have that right? 34-7? Yeah. 27-point victory. I mean, it just felt like a normal fall day in Louisiana. It felt like what we're supposed to feel like during football season. Across the board. Did you make it out? Did you enjoy it? Hit us up on YouTube. By the way, we're on YouTube, as we are every morning. When you go to YouTube, just search for my name, Brian Haldane, and pick up the show on YouTube. You get a lot more show on YouTube than you do on the air. We do not break on YouTube, so it's 3 solid hours. You get to hear a lot more conversation, interaction with other listeners, or I guess in that case, viewers, during the breaks. And we take your feedback. But I want to take your feedback on that as well. Did you make it out to campus Saturday? How was it? Did you enjoy? So great seeing tailgating again. A lot of fun. And then, turn around Sunday, and the Saints just put the icing on the cake. Of course, they had to be in Jacksonville because of Hurricane Ida and whatnot. But I think we're okay with the beginning of the Jameis Winston era. I mean, just complete annihilation of Green Bay yesterday. It was a beautiful thing. No Michael Thomas, no problem. Lots of questions on defense. There were no questions on defense once the kickoff happened. It was just glorious. And then, you lose your center on the first series, or first play, maybe. Unreal. Saints putting up big wins. We'll talk about both the Saints win and LSU's win, and Southern picked up a win over the weekend as well. We're going to talk about all three of those things in our next segment. We do sports in the second segment of the show, which is going to be coming your way shortly. Right now, though, we're due up for our first break. Before we take that break, though, got to ask, I know it's early, probably didn't even had breakfast yet, but are you thinking about lunch? Let me suggest Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. You know where to find them. They're on Bluebonnet, just right at Highland Road. They're also on Segan, just north of Industrialplex. Both locations of Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes, you get the same great ingredients. You get the same great service. You get the same wonderful burger. Dare I say, it might be the best burger in Baton Rouge. I don't know if it even I don't even know if I should say might be. Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. I'm a double Diablo guy. It's got the jalapenos and the Cholula sauce and the pepper jack cheese on it. Yeah, it's one heck of a spicy burger. But that might not be your style. They've got a full menu of dozens of different burgers to choose from, and if you don't find the one that's to your liking, you can build your own from scratch. Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. Start your week off right. Oh, hey, speaking of which, they're going to be on with us this Friday for Foodie Friday. So check them out for lunch today or anytime this week. Bluebonnet at Highland, Segan just north of Industrialplex, Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. Yep. All right, what do we got going on? Good morning, Renee. Finally got power back about 4 o'clock Saturday afternoon. Good for you. Had fun at the game. The joint band performance to mark 9/11 was moving. I always miss the halftime performances because halftime's super busy producing the show. Still no power. Got my self-made small reactor going. The dogs are glowing. That's funny. Man, I'm sorry you still don't have power, Eric. You got what Demko said, 91% of people are back. That stinks. Those numbers are wrong. They're fudging. Mm. Yep. Okay, I'll do that. I'm not squeezing it in here. I'll do it in the next segment. 617 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Sports time. Let's start by taking you back to Saturday, where LSU topped McNeese 34-7 Saturday night. Offense did not look that great in the victory. Had just 306 yards of total offense. They were just 4 of 16 on third down. Quarterback Max Johnson also consistently pressured. Coach Ed Ogeron talks about the offense's performance.
Not good enough. I mean, it starts with protection first. We got to protect the quarterback. We got to get better. We got to stay ahead of the change, and just need to continue to make improvement. Hopefully, with our offensive line getting back, we're going to have a better protection for our quarterback and better escapes.
So yes, you had 2 offensive linemen that were out. That was, but the offensive line play was concerning to say the least. Playing a team like McNeese State is supposed to be like a get-right game, and if you were looking on the defensive side of the football, you saw a lot of that. It's very easy to walk away from a game like that and say, yeah, but it was McNeese. Yeah, but defensively, they did what they were supposed to do. Offensively, though, it does get to be concerning if the offensive line is getting pushed around by McNeese, because what happens when you play McNephew? It's an FCS school, y'all. It's like the offensive line is going to be a concern. And, yes, there was a turnover at offensive line coach late in the offseason. It's going to take time to gel, but I'm not even talking about that. I got salty about the offensive line on a 3rd and 1 that couldn't be converted, and then a 4th and 1 where you have a fumbled snap. Anyway, Ogeron says he's a little surprised his offense has struggled through the first 2 games of this season.
But we had some protection problems going against our defensive line in some scrimmages, and we changed the protection one scrimmage and put a tight end in the back end there. So we've been trying several things. We want to get our athletes in space, but it's just not working, so we have to look at it again. And it's all going to be about protection first. Whether it's a tight end in the back, whether it's sliding the line, whatever it may be, we have to change it.
So LSU remains at home this coming weekend. Time to welcome in Central Michigan and Jim McElwain in Central Michigan. Over to the Saints, 38-3 winner on Sunday. I mean, they just looked amazing. Jameis Winston throws 5 touchdowns. Unbelievably, he only threw for 148 yards on the day. Kind of ridiculous, but 5 touchdowns, I'll take it all day long. The defense looked spectacular. Alvin Kamara looked fantastic. Also, Southern picked up a win over the weekend as well. We are due up for a break here. We got the Fox Business Report coming your way now. Hmm? Yeah, you carry the spot. And then into break. Eric says, mine has already said it was on 2 times, countless others as well. Well, if you're looking at the map versus the numbers, those two things aren't necessarily the same, but the map is never going to be 100% accurate. I didn't know Demco had a street-by-street map, though. Like, I can't zoom in that much, like Entergy does. Or are you Entergy? No, Demco. They gave me phone calls. Oh, okay. Is this one of those examples where there's such a, and we're going to talk about this at 8:15. Is there such a thing as too much transparency? Like, it wasn't that long ago. If your power was out, your power was out. Suck it. Like, you just had to sit there. Is there such a thing as too much transparency where you could say, you know, you feel like you have more information, but it doesn't give you the full story? We run into the same thing when we see video of crime scene or video of police encounters, right? You feel like you have the full story because you saw like a 30-second video clip. There's something sticky all over this desk. It's old, very fast. Ah! 624, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Yeah, hard to walk away from that Saints game yesterday feeling anything but positive about the team, the way things looked. I mean, Jameis Winston, 14 of 20 for 148 yards. That's not that much, you know. That's 148 yards. You're not normally going to be excited about that. And then you see 5 touchdowns. It's like, whoa, okay. Juwan Johnson, there's a household name. Brings in 3 catches for 21 yards. Again, does not sound impressive. Found the end zone twice. Oh, never mind. Deontay Harris had a score. Chris Hogan had a score. And Alvin Kamara had a score as well. So just big day for the Saints yesterday. Glad to see them get off on the right foot in a game that a lot of folks did not give them any chance of winning. I was hard-pressed to believe they weren't going to win simply because you put Sean Payton in these situations, and he finds a way to call a game like this, finds a way to get on the board quickly. Now, that being said, Saints will come back and enter a part of their schedule where they should do really, really well. The Saints' schedule. Give me 1 second here. computer screen's refreshing here on me. They're going to go to Carolina, to New England, and then home against New York, and then at Washington's football team. So the next 4 games could very easily be 4-0 or 3-1. We still don't know what New England is. We know that the Saints should be better than Carolina. We don't know what New England is yet. The Giants are still garbage, and Washington doesn't even have a nickname. So you could head into the bye week at 5-0. That's like a legitimate possibility to head into the bye week at 5-0 before coming back and going to Seattle after that. And that opens up a tough stretch, to say the least. But Saints start off in the right position. All right, let's talk a little COVID-19, shall we? All right. The number in the hospital is starting to drop. I shouldn't say starting to drop. We've been following this since it was at its peak at 3,022 in the middle of August. 3,022 was its peak. As of Friday, the number was 1,755. State Health Officer Dr. Joe Condor says when you look at hospitalizations, it appears as if they peaked mid-August, but a major hurricane has hit the state. He fears things could change.
We've had about a 40% reduction since that time. I think the challenge here is, given the disruption that this storm presented us, there's no guarantee that we continue on this downward trajectory.
Never a time to not be scared. 1,755 is where we're at. And like Dr. Cantor said, that's downward by about 40%. 1,755 hospitalized. Positivity rate has dropped from 14% to 11%. That's also encouraging. Cantor says while he's grateful for the downward trend in hospitalizations, he also understands it could be short-lived given the fact that many families were recently forced to shelter with others outside of their immediate household due to Ida.
Whether that's in a shelter environment, in an evacuation environment, or even if a family is staying with their neighbor who happens to have power or happens to have a generator.
Did we see it last year? Was there a hurricane season spike last year? I think this would be the best thing to go off of to determine whether or not we should expect one this year. A lot more people were in shelters for a lot longer period of time. Now, we had the non-congregate sheltering, a.k.a. hotels. But there were people in shelters as well. Did we see it last year? The other factor here, and you can make a comparison to last year on this one as well, and in fact even greater so, is getting back to school. I mean, we have hurricane season, back to school, and now football. We could blame football too, right? Can't we look at that as a way to fear that numbers are going to go back up again? Cantor says the message he wants to send, while the numbers are encouraging, we must remain vigilant with COVID mitigation practices to make sure all that progress continues.
And it means continue to mask, continue to distance, and ultimately, if you've not yet chosen to get vaccinated, to do that now. We want to continue the progress we're on and certainly protect against the possibility of future increases.
It's a difficult road to walk. He's a state health official. He's never going to say, hey, guys, good job, and then that's it. There's always going to be the but. It's always going to be there's a ton more reasons to be scared than there is to not be scared. And that's the part we've learned over the last 19 months, why it's difficult to maintain any level of sense of urgency. You cannot run a marathon at a sprinter's pace. We'll have more on COVID later on in the show. New numbers come out at noon, by the way. Hey, before we get to news at the bottom of the hour, and Richard Connett's coming your way after news, before we get to news at the bottom of the hour, if your car experienced damage as a result of Hurricane Ida, complete collision is your answer. I tell you all the time about if you get into an accident, finding the hidden damage and whatnot. The same is true if you took a tree limb, if you drove over something that you didn't see in the road. CompleteCollision.com, CompleteCollision.com. They're certified by more than a dozen major manufacturers, meaning regardless of who made your car, they've probably signed off on Complete Collision to be the ones to fix it. Finding hidden damage is important, especially at a time like this where your car is built with crumple zones, redundancies to make sure your car is safe for your family. If those redundancies and crumple zones aren't put back to the way the factory sent them out, you are at more risk for injury further down the road. CompleteCollision.com. 2 locations, Plank Road in Zachary or Perkins just east of Bluebonnet. Don't let who you choose to repair your vehicle be your second accident. Choose Complete Collision. All right. Wow. Richard comes on down the hall to go off on something. We try not to. I don't like prepping it. Hmm? Yeah. Mm-mm. Oh, let me get YouTube open back up again. Sorry, I closed out, y'all. All right. Okay. It'll be in the next segment. B, what you doing, brother? Getting ready, man. What are we talking about?
I don't know, whatever you want, dude. Everything. Okay.
Huh.
Dale Brown Court.
Let's start with that. Let's do that. Dale Brown Court.
I was going to do this, but Jake's must have. But just like, you know what? I wonder what's happened to Jake. Oh, I wonder if more people called me Condom in the last 61 years or Jake from State Farm. What you think, Big?
That ad campaign. I mean,
You know, the first guy to do that was the former sports guy over at Channel 9.
what?
Jake from State Farm.
Jake from State Farm was at Channel
You know the
9?
guy talked like Hermit the Frog. Used to be the sports guy at Channel 9.
No. I didn't know.
Minnis. His brother was the tennis coach at LSU. Minnis was the first Jake from State Farm.
I did not know that.
Coach. And I'm only on here 5 minutes a week. What a waste.
Well, it's 8, but
Go ahead, Big.
.637 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. So a couple weeks ago, actually it was more than a month ago, we started a new little segment over here. We're calling it Condon's Countdown. Every Monday morning, we want to start your week off right by bringing in Richard Condon to start off his week as well.
How you
Rich,
doing, Big?
I'm good, brother. So we started this, and then we had the hurricane, and then of course last Monday was Labor Day. So it's time to get back on track to start off the week the right way, on the right foot.
You know, the greatest thing over the last few years was the fact that the Board of Supervisors on Friday called it Dale Brown Court from now on.
Yes, LSU's.
And Big, look, since the age of 18, no man has had more of an impact on my life than Dale Brown. If it wasn't for Dale Brown, I'm not married 37 years to the same woman, and I don't have 2 kids.
I wouldn't have gone to LSU if it weren't for Dale Brown.
With Dale Brown, I'm in the back of a pickup truck coming back from Philly, snuggled up with a T-shirt I bought for my wife. At that time, she turned me down a week earlier to go on a date. I was wearing a little cute cafeteria hat because I used to set out the eggs and the grits and all of that. I said, if I'm going to get a campus job, I'm going to get a campus job and watch all the strange walk by every morning. Nothing turns a 19-year-old girl more on than a guy wearing a white apron with one of those little Donner paper hats on.
I mean,
so she said no. Went to Philly. For some reason, I bought the shirt. I brought it back that Monday. I gave it to her, and she said, all right, one date. And that
rest
really
was
changed
history.
your life forever. And what Dale did to so many people, you know, like Joe Costello, he was on the 80-81 Final Four team. He's my daughter's grandfather and godfather, rather. And the things that Dale did for him and, of course, the late Brian, I think it's Brian Costello, I think. Anyway, young man who had cancer on the LSU basketball. No, Mark Alcorn. He had cancer, and Dale took the whole team to a funeral in St. Louis. And, of course, the NCAA said you couldn't do that. And Dale was always those ones, man. Dale was one of those guys who just fought the NCAA for what was best for student athletes. And some of the things he did led to a lot of positive changes for student athletes.
You know, I don't think I'm going too far down a rabbit hole here to say I would credit Dale Brown for a lot of the discussion. Before the O'Bannon brothers, a lot of discussion that led to name, image, and likeness today. Because it was, 30 years ago, he called the NCAA Gestapo bastards for something as simple as reimbursing for a trip to a funeral, that sort of thing. Things that really brought to light how unfair certain things were for athletes. Common sense stuff, you know?
But you know what's really remarkable about Dale is that most of his players went on and did great things.
Oh, yeah.
Became business owners. We know what Rudy Macklin has done for the Governor's Council of Physical Fitness, but so many of them went on to be doctors and lawyers. And Dale never had any players after their career at LSU who really turned bad, who got into a lot of trouble, found the wrong things in life. And, you look at Greg Cook, man, tragically he passed away around 15 years ago. But that was, and of course it's all based on age, Brian. Our dads will always say that Johnny Unitas was the best and Ted Williams was the best. But that LSU 80-81 team, man, that team was just unbelievable. They go 17-1 in conference play. They were so dominant. Of course, Rudy injured his finger against Wichita State in the semifinals down in the Dome. And LSU, championship game against Wichita State. They beat Arkansas that Friday. And Rudy wasn't 100%. If Rudy's 100%, they likely, they win that game against Indiana, and of course they played in the very last consolation game against Ralph Sampson in Virginia that Tuesday.
Right.
And of course President Reagan got shot that Monday.
So I'm a little bit younger than you. I'm more familiar with the 86 team, the 86 Final Four team.
Yeah, John Williams and Ricky Blanton.
Ricky
and
Blanton.
Anthony Wilson hit the shot in the lane against Purdue, man, and the Assembly Center went crazy.
Yeah.
And at that time, it was the lowest seeded team never make it to the Final Four because they were 11th seed that year.
Yeah,
86.
it wasn't until there was a 13 came
George
up,
Mason.
who ended up, beating LSU along the way.
Right.
Interesting how history
But,
turned
how
that way.
crazy is this? Do you know that if Aaron Rodgers yesterday would purposely throw the football on the ground every down, his quarterback rating would be 33. His quarterback rating turned out to be 36.8.
I mean,
and if I would have told you after game one, Aaron Rodgers has got 200% more interceptions than Jameis Winston.
yeah.
And let me tell you this, Robert Griffin III, who's out of football now, did you see what he did?
No.
He got on Twitter last night and making fun of Jameis Winston and, maybe the Saints can renegotiate his contract and throw in 5 free crab legs. But look, the guy had an awful, immature college career.
He did
some stupid things. But if you saw him being interviewed after that game yesterday, he showed a lot of maturity. And sitting on that bench and watching Drew Brees and being under Sean Payton's tutelage, I get it. It's only one game. But I will tell you this, the maturity that he showed.
Yeah.
After the game being interviewed, it was nothing about me. And he's got the greatest quote today in the paper. He talks about how we did this for the city of New Orleans and how resilient the city is. And everything he says was about his teammates and about the city of New Orleans. Not anything he did he point the finger at himself and say, look at me. And that's coming a long way for him.
To go from the number 1 overall draft pick to throwing 30 interceptions in a year to having to ride the pine for a year. It's humbling. To be sure, I'm curious to see if he could stay on that humble path, though. I'm curious to see if, given success, the Saints are primed right now. They could be going into the bye week at 5-0.
3 of the next 4 are on the road because they got, they're going on the road this week to take on
Carolina.
Then they got to go to the Patriots,
who has
then
a rookie
quarterback.
quarterback.
The Giants, and they got to go back to Washington. But it was an amazing performance by him. But here's what's crazy: if you think about the salary cap purge, if you think about the suspension, you think about injuries. The Saints yesterday did that with minus 10 starters they had on last year's team. 10.
Right.
You look at the defense, or what's the guy's name? I always butcher his name. He's suspended, or whatever the guy's name. He's a defensive lineman. He got a strange last name. He's the starter. He wasn't there. You look at Michael Thomas. He wasn't there. Right. They lose the center in like the second play of the game.
Yeah, I know.
Guys around. And like the announcer said yesterday, the Saints have more unsigned free agents on that team than any other team in the NFL. And Sean Payton is a master at finding guys that he just saw something in potential that none of the other GMs or playing personnel guys did.
You could do more with less. More with less. Marquez Callaway, Jawan Johnson. Who are these fellas? And then all of a sudden, Callaway didn't even have a big game yesterday. I'm still waiting for he'll blow up next game.
But what a job! I mean, Sean Payton, what a job taking all of these players, their family, children, pets, over to Dallas. Living together and getting to know one another. And obviously this team, it's only one game, it's 17 games, so a lot can happen. Injuries, you don't know. But, man, I can't remember the Saints being that dominant. Maybe in the history of the organization going back to 67, and Brees had so many great games. But on both sides of the football, maybe on one hand, I can count how many times the Saints were that dominant on each side of the football.
Yeah.
Debo and Lattimore. Now, Lattimore's got to have thumb surgery. So he's game to game now. But Debo, man, what a pickup in that cornerback spot right now. And then you look at Jenkins in the back with his experience, man. It was just fun watching the Saints yesterday.
It was across the board. What about Saturday?
Well, I mean, look, you can't go 4 for 16 against McNeese on third down. You can't get less yards against McNeese than you did UCLA.
I know.
That's inexcusable.
I know.
No, you can't. And I didn't see the fire in the guys. I didn't see them coming out beautiful night wanting to make a statement, open up a can of whip butt. I just didn't see it. Worry about a lack of leadership. Every great LSU quarterback in the past, there was a wow moment. Wow, did you see that throw?
Right.
Did you see that read?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that yet from Max Johnson. Now, I get it. It's only his 4th start, whatever it was.
Yeah, and
by the way, his daddy turns 53 today, Brad Johnson.
Oh, nice.
So maybe he
Happy
can
birthday.
stop with the trick shots on Twitter and maybe work with his son a little bit more.
Here's the and we got 1 minute to go before we break here. The thing about Max Johnson, he looked hesitant Saturday night, which does not bode well because this was his 4th start. If you'll dial back to last year, the beginning of last year, Miles Brennan looked hesitant in start number 1, stronger in start number 2. Max looks like it's the reverse. Now, that being said, I'm going to take a 27-point win all day long.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. You see Ole Miss?
Yeah.
You see Arkansas?
See Arkansas?
See State? I mean,
See Arkansas?
No matter what you say about State, I remember what happened in Tiger Stadium. It didn't happen a year ago. Man, the SEC is loaded.
Yeah.
Absolutely loaded.
Yeah.
So, but that was a great weekend, man. Hope everybody had a great weekend, and at least, another few days, more power's coming on. Gas is easier to get in certain places. So just hope everybody had a great weekend, man. Let's make it a good week, man.
He is Richard Condon from Condon Uncensored right down the hall on Eagle 98.1. We start your Monday mornings off right here. Appreciate you, brother.
No problem.
Here comes a break, then your money now. You doing post? Okay. I was driving home Saturday night. Or actually, I was coming up here to finish out some stuff that I hadn't finished. But after I was done on campus, I was coming by. Okay. You're talking about that hasn't had that wow moment. That's That's when I was listening.
No, but I didn't know, like, Gordy asked me if I wanted to do it. I really wasn't. But I never worked with Hanny, and he's so easy to work with, man.
Hanny can work, yeah.
He's a pro. He is such a pro, man. So, yeah, I'm going, I enjoyed it. Now, staying up that late, once I get in there, I'm in.
Right.
It's just waiting, because, you can't do anything like that. You can't enjoy yourself, drink beers, and,
Yeah.
because you're going to be tired. But, I enjoy doing it. And it flowed so easy, and it was against McNeese State. You know what I mean? I can only imagine when the game really means something.
Right.
Because you knew darn well going in, LSU was in a no-win situation.
No, I know. They win by
twenty.
27. They win by 4 scores, and it's not good enough. Like, there's nothing you could do there. And I got to think from the player's standpoint, you're not getting up for this. You didn't sign with LSU to play freaking McNeese. Like, it just.
So I
Yeah,
you got the Chippewas coming in Saturday.
Thought they were the No, they are the Chippewas. Who's the Catamounts?
Oh, Western Carolina.
That's it. Yeah, we got.
Thanks, Jake. See y'all. Yeah.
Appreciate you, Rich. Eric says, what was the spread for the Saints game yesterday? He said, depends on when you got in on them. Some folks got Saints +4. Others got Saints +3.5. It was generally 3.5. You catch a 4 every once in a while. But, yeah, Green Bay was expected to win by a little more than a field goal. All right. Yeah. How much more is there before traffic? A 60-second promo? Jeez, Okay, at the end of this promo, stop it and play Your Money Now, and then come back to traffic after Your Money Now. Go ahead and turn on Your Money Now. That way you could turn this one off as soon as you hear them talk. Kill it. There you go. Yeah. And then when this is over at 52, then play traffic. Yeah. Good morning, Van. Bengals' chickenpox team. What was the I already covered that one. Chickenpox team. Look at that. Oh, Deontay Harris's touchdown. Holy crap. That's awesome. It's 1 minute plus a 1 minute spot. So for your perspective, it's 2. Forgot about the chicken pox thing. That 86 team. Who'd you say I have here? Gotcha. .653, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Got the CBS World News Roundup coming your way about 7 minutes from right now. You watching this on YouTube? If not, hop in. I want some feedback here. I want to hear, did you go to the game on Saturday? Did you tailgate all day? How was your experience? Did it feel like the days of, pre-COVID, pre-pandemic? I mean, we went all last year without the full-on experience. Limited capacity in the stadium. Were you at the game? Were you inside the stadium as well? And what was the testing like? Hit us up. Just look for Brian Haldane on YouTube. Pull it up. Subscribe while you're there if you don't mind. Going to dive into that in just a minute. Got to tell you about the folks over at Baton Rouge Physical Therapy. Normally, when you think about physical therapy, you're thinking about recovering from a major injury. Maybe it's some kind of sports injury. Maybe it's some kind of, maybe you had a car accident. Who knows? But physical therapy can be so much more than that. And at Baton Rouge Physical Therapy, they basically introduced physical therapy to Baton Rouge about 59 years ago. So when you're there, you're treated like family. They're going to take the time to truly understand your unique circumstances. Sit you down, talk about your anxieties and your frustrations that you might have with physical therapy. They're going to listen to your story, get to the root of your physical limitations, get to the root of your mobility issues, and get you on the path to long-term healing. They've got 6 locations throughout the greater Baton Rouge area. You'll find them in EBR. You will find them in Ascension. You will find them in Livingston Parish. You will find them by visiting brptlake.com or call right now or call today for your free screening. 917-9185, 917-9185. Get a complimentary screening at any of the BRPT locations. Get back to being your best you. Don't live with a nagging injury. Think physical therapy with brptlake.com. So the story from WBRZ reads, Tiger fans danced to the live music of Rockin' Doopsie at the PMAC before Saturday's first LSU home football game of the season. Folks gathered for large tailgates around the stadium, something that wasn't allowed last year because of the pandemic. Quote, last year was very sad. It was depressing for all of us, Tiger fan Jeannie Darling said. Darling's part of the G&G Tiger Express and Social Club, which have been tailgating at the same location for the past 26 years. Quote, I was like a kid Christmas morning waking up to come out here, Darling said. She even gave a large donation to the school during the pandemic last year just to buy the oak tree where she tailgates. That was one of hundreds, if not more, of tailgates across the stadium, across the campus Saturday. I got to walk around a good bit before actually having to go into work, and it wasn't like over the top, but it was, what's the right word? It was the right vibe. The tailgating scene on Saturday was like the reintroduction. It felt almost like if LSU had a preseason, that's what it would have felt like. But it was almost back to normal. It wasn't over the top like Alabama's in town. But it definitely felt like it's supposed to feel on a game day. Walking around campus on Saturday, you got that vibe that we're back. We are back. But I want to hear from some folks post it up in the comments on YouTube. I want to hear from some folks. What was your experience like? And not just the tailgating, but getting into the stadium as well. I didn't hear a whole lot of complaints on game day. I heard a whole lot of complaints leading up to game day. That there was a difference between getting a PCR test and getting a rapid test. A lot of folks got rapid tests beforehand and went to turn that in, and they were told they had to have a PCR test. But as I understand it, there was a different set of testing on game day, so you could get everything done that day and still get in the stadium. There were people all over campus handing out wristbands for screenings. I got to see a lot of that up close. I wasn't going in the stadium. I work across the parking lot from the stadium. But from what I could see, the screenings were so non-invasive, it almost made you wonder why they were there at all. I'm struggling for the words on this one because I don't want to be insulting to the process, but it was so user-friendly for the pre-screenings. Like, you'd have people just walking around being like, hey, got your card? Okay, here's your wristband. Hey, how's it going? Got your wristband. Like, they ran out of wristbands before it was all said and done. They ran out of wristbands before the pregame show started. What was your experience like? Let us know on YouTube. Let's see. Who's up in here? Went to the game. No traffic at 5:30. No COVID test at the gate. No mask fussing. Never had it on. Never put it on. Excuse me. Well, all right. That's testing at Tiger Stadium was a joke. Pretend screening. Yeah, it seemed to me to be, and I guess I'm not the only one that got this vibe, that it was just cursory at best. Did anybody run into any problems? Was anybody turned away? That might be a better way to ask the question. Did you run into problems because of it, or was it just out there just as kind of a, hey, we're going to do this thing, everybody be cool? Oh, I'm going to have a problem. No, just be cool. Trust me, it'll be all right. And then everybody got in and enjoyed the game. Now, there was a station to get vaccinated on campus. I didn't see any numbers after the fact as to how many people might have used it. I did see a line, so we know some folks did. But what was your experience like? Let us know. All right, we got CBS News coming up here in about 30 seconds. We've got top stories and trending coming your way. Medical Mondays coming your way in the next segment. In the next hour, as is Stephen Waguespack from LABI, the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. Got a lot to talk about with Stephen. It's been a while. We had Labor Day. We had Hurricane Ida. We got a lot to catch up on, and I'm guessing vaccinations are going to come up in that segment as well. Right now, let's get you to CBS News on Talk 107.3. See, okay, Bengal is testing at Tiger Stadium was a joke. I read that one on there. Pretend screening. My group of 6 had 3 unvaxxed, and they just took a pic of another person's card and used it as theirs. Okay, so the question then, let me finish reading your comment. LSU did not look at IDs or even names on the cards. In the stands, I had no less than 15 people say they didn't get the pre-vax check and with the gate were not asked to show their card. 3 even said they tried to show the card at the gate. Person laughed and said, oh, you don't know to show anything. Fake checking, and I don't have an issue with it. It just reinforces, yep. Well, but here's the thing, though. If it's all about government control, then what is the government actually controlling? If this is this easy, then what are they controlling? I think it's about making people feel better. But, so I had my vaccination card with me all friggin' day long. Never showed it to a soul. Well, that's not true. I did show it on Friday. No, well, so I'm across from the stadium in the Edmond building. I did have to show it on Friday. So I got all set up beforehand. But yeah, the best comment you make is, I don't have an issue with it. Exactly. we're going to go through the motions. We'll all play this little charade. And then once it's over, we can all look back and say, why did we bother with that? Byron says, piece of cake. I got pre-checked, but was in the non-pre-check line. No one was being screened or asked for anything but their tickets. So the next big question becomes, there was a lot of hubbub about the PCR test versus the rapid test. I'm wondering if this coming week they're going to do more to promote that they need a PCR test and then just totally shut it down. They are controlling local government and government-associated businesses like LSU. What if they were? Then you'd have been turned away. I mean, they could feel like they're in control, but if everybody got in without screening, then what control is there? So, but they did a poor job of determining whether or not you needed a PCR or a rapid test, and I'm wondering if they didn't call off the dogs because of that. Let me go dump this. I've got to remember to get a new gallon jug of water today. I keep refilling the same jug of water because we got the True Blue machine downstairs. Jug's getting old. Like the lid's starting to crumble. Oh, yeah. It was a COVID game, IJS. I don't know what that means. Oh. I don't understand how it was a COVID game. I don't know what that means. We need top stories and trending. The control came when they made them set up the PCR test, the pre-check. Oh, yeah. Sure, it's not trickling down, though. There you go. Tax relief, state of emergency, funds from Amazon, parishes expect approval for disaster stamps, and mobile intake center. All right. 706, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now. Going to be talking about hurricane prep from a medical perspective in our next segment. That's our Medical Monday segment. The folks from Our Lady of the Lake will be hopping on. Look, I know we've already been through one storm. Were you ready for it medically? Prescriptions in order, that sort of thing. In fact, in the wake of Hurricane Ida, we are still seeing, more than 2 weeks later, we're still seeing long lines at like Walgreens, CVS, and the like. We're seeing limited hours at drugstores. Were you ready ahead of time? Could you be better prepared? We're going to talk with Our Lady of the Lake about that in our next segment. Also this hour, Stephen Waguespack, the president of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. It's been a while since we've been able to catch up, and in that time, President Joe Biden has said that any company with 100 or more employees now has to have a vaccine mandate. I can't imagine a scenario where that would sit well with the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. What's it going to mean here in Louisiana? What kind of fallout are we going to see in Louisiana? What are businesses saying about it, and what's their response? We will talk with Stephen Waguespack at 7:35 this morning. Right now, though, we do start the 7 o'clock hour off by catching up on our top stories and trending. Louisiana Department of Revenue is granting filing extensions to taxpayers in 25 parishes whose homes and businesses were affected by the impacts of Hurricane Ida. This automatic extension due date is now January 3rd of 2022 for excise, franchise, income, severance, and withholding taxes with original or extended due dates of or on or after August 26th or before January 3rd are eligible. This is an extension to file the applicable tax returns, not an extension to pay any taxes due, the department said in a news release. Payments submitted after the original deadlines are subject to penalties and interest. By the way, if you want to know what those 25 parishes are, it's the same 25 parishes that have been involved in every other issue since Hurricane Ida rolled through. Governor Edwards declared a state of emergency Sunday ahead of Tropical Storm Nicholas. The tropical storm is not expected to make landfall in Louisiana, but is forecasted to bring heavy rain to the area. The state of emergency will allow resources to be allocated to storm response efforts. This is going to be particularly focused on southwest Louisiana, maybe not so much us. Grabbing this one from Terry Jones over at The Advocate, an infusion of sales tax revenue of the construction of the $215 million Amazon Fulfillment Center at Cortana is projected to generate for the city parish coffers. This will also fund construction for a new community center in the lone Metro Council district that doesn't have one. Metro Councilman Cleve Dunn Jr.'s district will receive at least $500,000 towards establishing a community center somewhere within the Cortana Corridor Economic Development District. The council recently created that district. The new Economic Development District, which the council approved August 25th as a 5-year deal that will divert all monthly sales tax revenues generated in that district that exceeds the monthly baseline collection of $414,088 to support the redevelopment efforts in the area, governed by a 5-member board appointed by Dunn and the mayor-president. As to where this new community center is going to go, well, no final plans have been set just yet. Disaster food stamps are in the process of being approved for parishes impacted by Hurricane Ida. State officials said the full approval is expected within days. The federal government must approve the request, which would make disaster food stamp money available to many people who currently do not qualify for regular food stamps. Saturday morning, Livingston Parish officials posted on Facebook that their residents should begin the application process. DSNAP benefits are on the way in the very near future. Storm recovery efforts continue in Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas. I know this is all storm-related this morning. Following Hurricane Ida's impact on South Louisiana, and area leaders have created an added resource to assist locals in their efforts. East Baton Rouge Parish President, Mayor-President Sharon Weston Broom announced Friday a local mobile registration intake center will be set up in operation by Wednesday, September 15th. The MRCI, which is a tool that plays a major role in FEMA and EBR Parish's ongoing response and recovery mission supporting Hurricane Ida survivors will be located on the second floor of the main library on Goodwood. Officials say the site will remain in operation from Wednesday, September 15th until September 22nd between the hours of 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. That's a look at your top stories. Here is a look at what's trending this morning. We talked about it with Condon last hour. The LSU Board of Supervisors voted Friday to name the basketball court inside the Maravich Assembly Center the Dale Brown Court. Dale Brown was the head coach of LSU's men's basketball team from 1972 till 1997, participating in 13 NCAA tournaments, including 2 Final Four appearances in 81 and 86. Brown was chosen as the SEC Coach of the Year 4 times, picked National Coach of the Year in 1981. He's also a member of the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame. Kudos to the Board of Supervisors for getting this done. It's very, very well-deserved. Coach Brown was an influence on so many lives, not just those he coached, but those who came up during his era as well. All right, that's top stories in trending. We're going to take a quick break here in just a minute. After that break, it's time for Medical Monday. Before that break, though, got to tell you about the folks over at Mathern's. A new week is here, but you know what? It's another home game week. I got to swing by Mathern's before heading in to work on Saturday on campus. It was buzzing. Mathern's was packed. Folks filling up to-go plates of buffalo chicken wings, barbecue wings as well, fries, meat pies, you name it. It was your tailgate was on the go, man. You could pop in, get yourself a full meal, and get on your way. Grab a couple beers, grab whatever you're tailgating with throughout the day. Mathern's on campus, Nicholson at Skip Burtman Drive. Of course, they've got the downtown location as well. Don't forget, they're there for you for lunch all week long at the downtown location. And still going to remind you about the Mathern's app. Get your grocery shopping done without ever having to walk back into a grocery store with the Mathern's app. Download the app now. Do your grocery shopping before you even leave work. Pull in the parking lot. They bring it out to you. It's so convenient. It saves time. You don't have to bother with a mask. You don't have to even get out of your car. They've got designated parking spots for it. Both locations, downtown on 3rd or Nicholson at Skip Burtman Drive for Mathern's Market. You have to count me down on when it's not a hard break. It's only when it's a hard break. Good deal. How many minutes worth? Are they all like 15s? 101, 31, 10, 6, 10. What are the 10, 6, 10? Get rid of the one of the Ken Colemans. Yeah. No, bump in with Medical Monday. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yes. Do you want that to be separate? Yes, please. Yeah, and that was live on the air for her as well. All right, let's see. One of the things that we have seen in the wake of Hurricane Ida is long lines at drive-through pharmacies ever since, and we're talking 2 weeks removed from the storm. So it begs the question, what do we need to do to be prepared medically for an incoming storm? Dr. Melissa Eddie Shelby joins us now. She's with Our Lady of the Lake, and that's exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about preparing yourself for the next storm. Good morning. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Doing very, very well. So looking back, we had Hurricane Ida, 2 weeks ago now? And it doesn't feel like everyone's caught up yet. It just driving around Baton Rouge, you look at a CVS or a Walgreens, and you're seeing lines out the parking lot onto the street still. Now, some of that has to do with limited hours, but I'm guessing some of that has to do with people not being ready when the storm first got here.
Correct. So basically, here in Louisiana, we're pretty good at preparing for storms, but like all storms, as you just explained, can teach us we can do better.
Mm-hmm.
So most people think about things around their house, filling up the gas cans, preparing the generator, charging your phone, secure loose items, the sandbags, but most people don't really think about the medications and that kind of thing. So the best thing to do is to basically have a plan. So you need at least like a week before to have the supplies that you would need to water, formula, diapers, wipes, ice, batteries, and those types of things. But for medication specifically, it's very important to have fresh refills on all regular medications, especially those for children with chronic conditions such as diabetes or seizure disorders, as these medicines are needed daily. And then one more important thing to think about is always to have on hand, even if you barely use it, is albuterol for patients for asthma, EpiPens for those with a history of serious allergic reactions. Heat and storm debris can exacerbate breathing problems, and an allergic reaction can be fatal if you're unable to get to the ER or emergency room or urgent care.
I mean,
and it's also
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. And it's also important to have like an inhaler versus a nebulizer, because the inhaler, you don't need electricity. So if you usually use a nebulizer, it's good to prepare and get the inhaler beforehand too.
Right off the bat, that's something I wouldn't have thought of. The prescriptions and whatnot that you're used to taking on a daily basis, that one comes to mind. That one's a good reminder. But yeah, the EpiPens and albuterol, that's something that you wouldn't think of unless you're already in the moment.
Correct.
Yeah. Do those things have a shelf life? Is that something that you can get once and just pack away in an emergency kit?
No, they do have a shelf life. And so it's important to check the expiration date. So if you haven't gotten it refilled in over a year, just go ahead and, call your primary care provider, and they can usually just call those in really quick. And most pharmacies have those readily available, again, a week before or so. So if you know a storm is coming, just call your provider, and they can usually send those in, that same day.
I probably should have mentioned this on the front end, that Dr. Eddie Shelby has a specialization in pediatrics. So if that list sounded very kid-heavy, it is, to be sure. But it's important because, we want to do the best for our kids, and they're not going to be the forward-thinking when a storm approaches. Doc, I want to ask you about prescriptions, because this is something that a lot of people – how far in advance can you plan out for prescriptions? Can you front-load your prescriptions?
Most places, and it depends on the medicine, but usually you can do a 90-day supply.
Okay. I can't see a scenario where we would need more than that, though. Are there certain things where you can't do that?
There are certain medicines that, are like any kind of certain pain medicines or ADHD medicines, those you can only get usually a month's supply of those. So it's also a neat thing, especially in Louisiana, is to have your bottles of your medicine. So with the bottles in Louisiana, even though pharmacies are really busy, you can take that bottle if you're unable to get to your primary care. Usually you can take that bottle with the prescription to a pharmacy, and they'll automatically refill it for you for, another month's supply if you're unable to get to your primary care.
In the wake of a storm, communication can be an issue sometimes. How far will that bottle get you when it comes to getting a refill without being able to get back in touch with the doctor?
Right. So I would say usually, most medicine supplies for a month, so it should get you, at least a month, which should be good enough. But also, whenever, things are crowded, it's also important, again, to contact your provider ahead of time and kind of see. They have, like Our Lady Lake, each office has a phone number, but there's also a centralized patient service center, which you should know that number, so that way it can tell you where your provider is seeing patients or who is seeing patients for that provider. So you can easily sign up for video visits, and they can send prescriptions that way too.
Dr. Melissa Eddie Shelby is our guest, talking about what to do to prep from a medical perspective should a hurricane approach. Doc, can I ask you about medical information and medical records? What all should we have at the ready? What else should we have on hand when a storm is coming to town?
Right. It's very important to have personal and medical records accessible. So you should take photos of kind of like your driver's license, birth certificate, passport, any important account numbers, even your immunization records, and again, your prescriptions. So all those things you should have all in a central location, in a binder, in a bag. And it also is helpful to have photos on your phone in case those items are lost.
Now, in the worst case scenario, if you find yourself packing up, having to evacuate, what do you need there?
Again, I would make sure all the important documents I just talked about are easy to grab, either a binder, take pictures of those things. Again, your newest prescription bottle, medications. It's also important to have the supplies that we talked about, the water, the formula, food, diapers, wipes, batteries, flashlights. I think it's also important to just go ahead and get like a first aid kit just because you never know, and then to have cash on hand. So I would go ahead and grab cash before, just in case some places are down and they're not able to take cards.
A lot of this stuff sounds like we can't rewind the clock now, but if you rewind the clock back to like late May, early June, a lot of the stuff that's non-prescription can just be purchased at the beginning of the hurricane season and just held out. I mean, powdered formula, especially, like you can leave that in a sealed container for a couple of months at the very least. Bottled water, about the same. So, are there any other more? Are there any items that would go bad more regularly?
So some of our kids who have like special formulas or stuff that needs to be refrigerated. So sometimes you can buy like milk, like instead of getting the cold milk, you can buy like the milk that's on the shelf, and that can kind of last a little bit longer, a couple months, versus the refrigerated milk. So that's something to think about too. Dr.
Melissa Eddie Shelby is our guest. We're talking about being prepared medically for an incoming hurricane. Let's talk about preparing the kids, though, because I think this is an important one. A lot of kids, and it's getting to be more and more every day, have anxiety about storms, especially a named storm where the wind is going to be making noise. The power is more than likely going to go out. How can you best prepare your children both physically and mentally for a coming hurricane?
Right. So, again, having their medications is important. Having their refills is important if they take something daily, or like we talked about, the albuterol and the EpiPen, get those updated. And even though we as parents may be worried, it's still important to remain calm for them. So don't show that you're overly anxious about the weather or what might happen. So it's better not to let the younger children kind of overdo the viewing of the news and the weather report. But it's also important to talk to your kids and see if they're scared and why they're scared, and to kind of respond on their level and kind of bring it back down to their level. Some children, will benefit from calming, distractive activities, so drawing, puzzles. To some degree, it can be a good time for families to bond, just kind of distracting your mind from what is actually going on.
Yeah, we got a lot of that in the wake of the storm. We were without power for a week. There were a lot of games of Clue, a lot of board games going
bring out
on.
the board games.
But that's after the storm. That's not in preparation of. The preparing mentally, is one that I wouldn't have thought of ahead of time. But we're seeing more kids with anxiety these days because of this, or is this just something that is just coming to the forefront more often now? It's being talked about.
Right. So I've actually, with COVID and everything and quarantine, there has been an increase in, anxiety and depression, especially in our teens. So it is important, in your older kids that do understand what's going on to talk to them about it. Again, address their fears, ask them what they're scared of, and then kind of explain it to them. But, they're older, so it's important to talk to them at their level.
Absolutely. My kids are asking me about the weather all the time when the storm's coming to town, and I just keep thinking, I don't remember ever asking my parents about this when I was growing up. We take it as it comes. It definitely feels a little bit different. In the meanwhile, we greatly appreciate the information. We greatly appreciate the update. Dr. Melissa Eddy Shelby, thank you so much for the time this morning.
Thank you so much for having me, Brian.
Absolutely. 728 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Got just a couple minutes until we check CBS News at the bottom of the hour. After news, we will, of course, check traffic and weather as well. Do you have a checklist? Do you have your items ready to roll for a hurricane? I know we all feel very well-versed for hurricane season. But, we had one just 2 weeks ago, and are you ready for the next one? By the way, Tropical Storm Nicholas, we will catch some rain from it, but if you've got neighbors to the west, if you've got friends in Lake Charles, you might want to give them a heads up. They're going to get a lot of rain from this storm. All right, after we're done with news, when we come back, and news, traffic, weather, and the like, Stephen Waguespack from LABI is going to hop on the hotline. It's been a while since we got a chance to catch up with Stephen. President Joe Biden has mandated that any company with 100 employees or more has to be vaccinated. They have to mandate vaccines within their company. First of all, I'm not even going to ask, is this an overreach? I'm going to ask, how much of an overreach is this? But more to the point, I want to know, logistically, is it possible to enforce this? And if it is, what will the repercussions be? I've already seen a number of companies go very public about how they're going to defy this mandate from start to finish, if not find a way to skirt around it. What's the reaction been like from businesses in Louisiana? Well, that's why we talk with Stephen. He'll be coming up right after we check news here, which is coming up in just a little bit. Hey, have you downloaded the all-new Talk 107.3 mobile app just yet? I keep calling it all new. It's a couple months old now. The Talk 107.3 mobile app is presented by Gregory Ricks and Associates. You can listen live. You can listen on demand. You can set an alarm to wake up with the show if you like. The Talk 107.3 mobile app is available right now, presented by Gregory Ricks and Associates. So we're going to talk with Stephen Waguespack next. I want to tee up what's coming up in the next hour as well. A lot more about Hurricane Ida recovery. There's relief that's on the way, and we'll be talking about it in our next hour. Also, got to talk about COVID a little bit. We haven't talked about COVID much lately, which feels like a good relief that we haven't. But you know what? Just because the numbers are getting better doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about it. In fact, if anything, why not report some good COVID news every once in a while? That's coming up next hour. Right now, though, we got to get you caught up with CBS News here on Talk 107.3 FM, the new flavor of talk. Pop quiz, YouTube. I would like to know what was missing from Top Stories and Trending. We're seeing more and more of this, or I guess I should say less and less of this. What was missing in Top Stories and Trending? Byron wins. I asked, I got an answer. And in one answer, we got it right. Yeah. Not a single shooting over the weekend in Baton Rouge. Laranja had one. What? Yeah, seriously. But we went all the way through August. What do we have? 3 homicides in August? Maybe 4? After that ridiculous first half of the year? I mean, we're still going to set a record for the year, but things look like they've fallen off a little bit. Excuse me. And I'm very appreciative of that. Background dancers. Who am I? Ace Rothstein? Richard Condon. Condon. You're welcome.
Wonderful. We'll be live shortly. We'll get you on momentarily. Sound good? Thank you. Please hold.
Mm-hmm. All right. Gotcha. 737 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hey, I hope she's not already out of the car by now. Happy birthday to my oldest daughter, Kerrigan, 14 years old. Went out to celebrate last night. She actually turned 14 yesterday. So happy birthday, sweetheart. I hope I didn't miss it and you're already at school. But if you are, well, download the Talk 107.3 mobile app and get your happy birthday on demand. Joining us right now, Stephen Waguespack, president of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. Stephen, I looked up at the clock, man, and I realized I might have missed out on the birthday shout-out.
I'm sure Kerrigan will forgive you on that. There's no doubt about it. And it's probably like the first time you've kind of missed that window. So there's always next year. She'll be 15 before you know it.
Exactly, which means she'll be, that much closer to driving herself to school, and then there won't be any mornings with Brian Haldane on that ride. It'll be all like Spotify.
Well, look, let me just tell you this real quick. When my oldest son got his license, at first I thought it was going to be stressful, but, man, those couple of years he was here before he went to college, we got pretty used to him running errands for us and picking up and carpooling and everything. Now that he's gone, we miss that extra driver in the house, man.
Oh, I bet. Christy and I are so looking forward to it, just to be able to get everyone to every practice and then not miss out on the rest of the errands as well. It's we're down because the oldest one is the most responsible one, right? So
Right.
we're looking forward to catching a little bit of teamwork here.
That's it. It takes a village.
Hey, before we dive into a couple of the topics for today, I do want to take a look back over the weekend. Saturday marked the 20th anniversary since 9/11, and I want to make sure everyone has a chance to share their thoughts, their recollections, and their honoring of those who fell 20 years ago.
Yeah, Brian, I'm glad you started with that. I think especially in these days where there's so much angst and divisiveness and politics is a disaster and everything, it's important to reflect on moments like that, not just for how horrible the event was, but how the country rallied together and united in the aftermath and kind of put some of their differences aside to put America first. And we could use a pretty big dose of that right now. 20 years ago, I was a young Capitol Hill staffer, freshly married. I was living in D.C., went to work like every other, person that day, worked in a house office building right across the street from the Capitol, and beautiful crystal blue skies that day. And within like an hour or two, we're all running up Pennsylvania Avenue, hearing all these rumors about, Capitol, State Department, everything, not knowing where to go. Cell phones were down, couldn't find my wife, couldn't find information. It's a really chaotic day in many ways. The big thing is the next day when you got up and you went around the city and you tried to go back to work and everything, literally the next day the world was different in so many ways. I mean, there was security and access controls everywhere, literally the Capitol, the grounds, the blocks around it, what we kind of gotten used to today, where there's, it's restricted access and security everywhere and airport travel being different. It wasn't like that on September 10th. And the very next day it was. So, there's a lot of stories to tell from that day. I think the big takeaway, though, is that if you compare what's going on in Afghanistan right now, the war that started shortly after 9/11, where we said, all right, we're going to all combine together and we're going to get the guys that did this and we're going to make sure that they don't have a safe place to hide anymore. Well, today they do. And Afghanistan is now there for the taking. And so it's sad to see that where we are 20 years later with Afghanistan. But I would tell you, if there's one big takeaway, the country in that moment came together, put their petty differences aside, rallied, put the flag first, put the country first. And with everything we got going on these days, we could use a big dose of that. So, that'd be a good lesson to take away.
Absolutely it is. So you were in D.C. at the time. Were you able to physically see the smoke from the Pentagon?
Absolutely. The office I worked in is called the Rayburn House office building. It was on the south side of the building. And from my windows, I had a little window seat right there. I could see out, I think it was the Education Department or Labor Department right across the street, but across the Potomac was behind that. And you could see the very top of the Pentagon from there, but not really. So I couldn't really see the building well. But I will tell you, that morning there's a lot of rumors going around. And, this was pre-cell phone being really as robust as it is today. Back then it was just a phone. Mm-hmm. And so, it's hard to get reliable information. But when I saw that smoke coming up over the Potomac, that's when I knew that it was real. And so, I saw the smoke before I heard about the Pentagon. And, the weird thing is when you go outside, again, the second thing that hit me is again how beautiful the day was. But at that point, they didn't know where that last plane was, whether
Right.
it was going to the Capitol, to the White House, or whatever. And that's the one that ended up crashing in Pennsylvania. So unique day in a lot of ways. Very, very memorable, scary, patriotic, thought-provoking, heartbreaking day.
Absolutely, absolutely. And looking back on it 20 years later, I don't want to say it at least warms my heart a little bit to see that there was so much recollection, to see that there was so much of a looking back, to see that we haven't forgotten.
You can't. I mean, you have to, man. You know how these things go. I mean, time makes people forget.
Right.
And this is one of those things where we talked about our kids. My kid just going to college. Yours is turning 14 today. Well, neither one of those kids were alive when this happened. My oldest is 18. Yeah. This is 20 years ago, and so it's amazing how fast these memorable moments that you think are going to be imprinted on people's minds forever. It's amazing how fast you grow and you realize there's a lot of folks where it's not imprinted on their mind. They have forgotten the lessons. They weren't there watching on television when President Bush went to the rubble of in New York City a few days later and grabbed that bullhorn and told those that did this, these buildings are going to hear us all very soon, and kind of made that moment. I mean, I remember where I was sitting, how I heard that, what it made me feel inside. And I think a lot of people our age and above do. And it's important for us to take the time to tell those stories and reflect, because the people behind us, they don't have those memories. And the memories that they're going to have are, what are they hearing about what America is and all about and stands for over the last 10 years? I mean, if you listen to Twitter and social media, this is a horrible country that needs to be punished.
Yeah.
And that's a bunch of garbage, and it's not true. But we have a lot of young people that's being fed to them on a daily basis. And so it's important for us to tell those stories, to show those pictures, and remind them that this country is the best in the world and that we can rally together when called for, and we need to do it more often.
Yeah, between the bullhorn, the scene with the bullhorn with, I can hear you and the world can hear you, and pretty soon the people who knocked down these buildings are going to hear from all of us. Hell of a line right there. And then comes out a couple nights later, throws out the first pitch of the Yankees game and throws a strike. I mean, between those two, it was just the right words and the right action at the right time. As an American, I've never felt so secure.
Man, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I ran across that video also the other day of him throwing out that pitch.
Oh.
And look, I had to retweet it. I mean, you want to talk about owning a moment.
Yeah.
That dude walked out in Yankee Stadium, never broke stride, grabbed the ball, did a quick turn, fired a strike, came off, took a few photos, waved, got the crowd going, and then walked off. I mean, he never broke stride the whole time. That was pretty impressive, owning the moment. And it's important to, again, share those videos, tell those stories. I kept the front page of the Washington Post from that day. I have a few magazines from that day that tell a lot of pictures. We do it pretty much every couple of years. We sit down with our kids, we walk through it, we tell the story. People need to do that. People need to remember why this country's important, and why when it really goes down, why the things that we have as our core principles, liberty, justice, freedom. Those are the times when you remind yourself how lucky we are to live in this great country.
Absolutely. Stephen Waguespack, president of LABI, is our guest. We're actually more than halfway through the segment, Stephen. We got to talk a little bit about current business as well. President Joe Biden issuing a vaccine mandate for companies with 100 employees or more. LABI's takeaway is what?
Well, our first takeaway is, look, I'm vaccinated. Most of our staff, I think all of our staff is now vaccinated. We encourage everyone to talk to your doctor. If you're not vaccinated, please go talk to your doctor. Consider it. It's important for us to get vaccination rates up, to flatten that curve. It's the only way we're going to get sustainability out of this. Having said that, we're very concerned with President Biden trying to put employers in the role of vaccination police. I mean, it's just really unworkable for an employer to have to go to their employees, check their papers. If that employee tells them, like, well, my doctor said I shouldn't, or I have a religious objection, or I have an immune challenge issue, or something like that, how is an employer in the best position to say yes, no, that doesn't work, that does work? And the whole time, what the President Biden's order does is it puts OSHA in charge of deciding whether that employer made the right choice, or whether they can issue pretty steep fines. And it's just really the wrong approach. And And the last thing is, precedence is important in these things. Anytime you have unilateral executive action, whether it's a governor or a president, you have to worry about precedence, not just the policy of the day.
Yes.
And if all of a sudden the president can use an executive order to overrun the 10th Amendment, which deals with states' rights, and basically just use emergency powers to mandate these types of things, what's next? A year from now, he can say, look, climate is such a threat that by executive order, I'm going to ban paper newspapers. I'm going to ban plastic bottles. I'm going to ban all these things without having to go through Congress and have thoughtful policy debate on some of this stuff. So, look, I think vaccination rates have to go up. We need people to get vaccinated. But a federal mandate, which puts employers in the position of vaccination police, especially when many of them are trying so hard to just stay alive coming out of the pandemic, economy shut down, it's a really troublesome approach from our perspective. So we hope he reconsiders that order, goes back to the drawing board, maybe goes back to Congress, and figures out maybe a more constitutionally sound way to accomplish its objective.
Absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head with so many companies are just trying to stay afloat right now. And that's not just like restaurants or small businesses with 10 employees. We're talking about major companies that could be running into problems because of the pandemic to begin with. Or their eye needs to be on the bottom line. Their eye needs to be on keeping those 100 employees employed.
Yeah, I mean, look, last time I checked, having a job's a good thing, having a strong economy is a good thing. That's good for a community. We should be wanting that, applauding that. D.C. should be spending their time working on policies to help us recover from that. Instead, it seems like every other week the headline is what new tax, what new spending bill, what new mandate, what new finger pointing is coming out of D.C. And look, it's getting exhausting, and you've got some battle-weary small businesses all across this country that have pretty much used every card trick up their sleeve over the last year and a half to stay open. They're running out of tricks, man. And so at some point we just have to sit down with them and say, hey, we want you to be successful, but it feels like it's almost the opposite, that they're chosen as the enemy or the scapegoat more than not. And so, look, we hope they go back to the drawing board. Again, vaccination rates hopefully go up. We need them to go up. This is the wrong way to do it.
Logistically, it's also a nightmare as well. I don't think it's enforceable from start to finish. So why not take a different tack? One of the things I've been curious about is you've seen incentives when it comes to lotteries and the like for individuals to get vaccinated. What if you were to take those same companies with 100 or more employees and incentivize them with something that would affect their bottom line, like tax breaks for vaccination records or tax breaks for vaccination benchmarks?
I think there's a lot of different ways you could have done it, but the way that was working the last couple of weeks or a month or whatever, we've seen rates start to go up, and that's been through education, that's been through access, that's been through really getting that message out there. We've started to see some of these rates go up, so it was working. Now, when the president comes out and issues this type of order, I worry it's going to put people back in their bunkers. It's going to turn it more into, people for philosophical reasons are going to say, oh, this is the reason I've been looking for. And, that's not helpful. We were making strides using education, access, other ways. I worry this is going to actually make it more difficult to continue those positive trends we were seeing.
Yeah, the beatings will continue till morale improves. Just doesn't work.
Exactly.
In the meanwhile, he is Stephen Waguespack, president of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. Man, we had a lot to catch up on today. We didn't get to all of it, but we will pick back up next week.
Amen. And hey, well, once again, happy birthday to your daughter, man. Hopefully you catch her in time on number 15.
Yes, absolutely. Appreciate you, Stephen. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye.
You too. Bye. Coming up on 7:52 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we blew right past your money now. It's been 3 weeks since we caught up with Stephen. There was no way we were taking our foot off the gas for that segment. Quick break, come back, got the outside in coming next. All right, well, now we got to hit your money now at 8:50 because we missed it at 7 because I missed it at 7:50. So
Outside in or bump?
bump, and I'll toss the outside in. Anna says, spot on interview, great advice. Anna, were you talking about Stephen or the previous segment with Our Lady of the Lake? Always curious where the feedback's coming from. If I'm doing something right, I need to do more of it. Stephen, gotcha. We are going to be okay. Get your business on the air.
What are you going to be talking about with Kim Bowman and Professor Newhauser?
Pediatric cancer research. Oh, wow. .756 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Thanks again to Stephen Waguespack for hopping on board to talk a little business, man. Looking back on 9/11, it's that ate up a lot of the segment, and deservedly so, because the tagline since has been never forget, and we shouldn't. And Stephen brought it to light when saying that he's got a kid in college, was not yet born. I was thinking about it. My 20th anniversary is coming up in 9 days. I got married 11 days after 9/11. It just personally, it puts you in perspective. 20th anniversary. I mean, that's half my life. The number of people who do not see things through the lens that we saw it 20 years ago is ridiculous. I asked this of we had some guests on Friday talking about 9/11, and I asked if this were to happen again, would the reaction be the same? Because where we're at right now, I think no matter what happened, half the country would think we deserved it. And the other half would be apathetic towards it at best. I don't know. All right, we got to hit the outside in. CBS News coming your way in 2.5 minutes. Outside in comes right now. We're going to start off in Ascension Parish. A man woke up from a nap to find his home on fire, had to jump out of a back window to safety. Prairieville Fire Department said a home at 16438 Highway 929 caught on fire Saturday afternoon. That man was the only person at home. He got some minor scrapes jumping out of the window. Fire officials said the home was completely destroyed by flames. The injuries were minor, however. They also said the fire was not due to power restoration in the area. Down to Terrebonne Parish, where a massive fire destroyed an entire home in Dulac. Investigators believe a generator started that blaze. WWL reported the Grand Caillou Fire Department said the fire started around 6 a.m. Friday on Marie Court. WWL said firefighters had to pump water from a nearby bayou because hydrants in the area were currently not functioning. Next stop, Tangipahoa Parish. A man was arrested after allegedly harassing a power line worker with a handgun. Sheriff's office over there said the employee called deputies around 6 p.m. Friday, said he was being harassed by 35-year-old Kendrick James while trying to fix the power lines in that area. And while we're in Tangipahoa, let's close it out there. Middendorf's open back up again on Friday. Yes, the classic location is back in business. Electricity was fully restored to the Manchac location on Thursday. They're limited on hours. They're limited on staffing. But the fried catfish in Middendorf's is back. Quick break for CBS News, Hour 3, coming your way next on Talk 107.3. No, I'll do it on the way back in. It's just everything got slammed up real fast. I don't like stepping on interviews with live reads, but there's generally 2 interviews per hour, so I should have done it after Medical Monday. I had time there. I did it a minute-long tease. Oh, yeah. This is bad. Yeah. I mean, I thought we were done having to worry about the murder hornets. I guess not. I guess I'm not done with the murder hornets. All right. Tomorrow, we start pressing FEMA for real answers. It's been nice and friendly up until now. Nathan Custer, tomorrow at 8:40. Nothing on the website says you had to have damage to your home to get reimbursed for. Let me tell this guy on Facebook. Somebody hit me up on Facebook complaining that my show was giving up improper or incomplete information because I didn't tell them that they had to be, get out at 8:04. You go to traffic. Like when you hear that spot end, that's where you bail. That's only 7 o'clock. It's weird. 7 o'clock is different. They give you the time on the way out before the spot because we don't have to clear that spot. So that's like your out cue then. With 6 o'clock, well, 6 o'clock you don't have to worry about it because it's automated. 8 o'clock, when you hear that spot in, that's when you go. Still haven't heard back about Steven Weber yet. Damn it. About 8:06, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Thanks again to Stephen Waguespack from LABI for hopping on board in the last hour. Gosh, so much ground to cover there, and we didn't get to all of it, but got to quite a bit. It was the vaccine mandate for companies with more than 100 employees is going to be it's going to be a logistical nightmare, and it's going to be a comedy of errors, to say the least. Enforcing this thing is going to be all over the place if they do it at all. Will there be any level of enforcement, or will it be a lot like the mandate to get into Tiger Stadium on Saturday? We'll see how it plays out. Coming up later on this hour, in our next segment, we're going to talk a lot about Hurricane Ida recovery. We're going to talk a little bit about the latest on COVID-19 as well. Later on this hour, we're going to talk about pediatric cancer research. Right now, though, Jake's got This Day in History. What do you got, Jake?
Starting off with these historical events on this day, we start in 1501. Michelangelo begins work on his statue of David, a masterpiece of Renaissance.
They know what day he started?
Yep. Apparently history was
like
that
the day it was
accurate.
revealed feels like that should be an important day.
I mean, well, we're taking it all the way into the 20th century. 1938, Alexander Cartwright is inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, credited as the inventor of modern baseball.
Why is he the inventor of modern baseball?
Couldn't tell you. But
What happened to Abner Doubleday?
That's what he was listed as.
Abner Doubleday.
Well, when it's his birthday, I'll give him the same credit.
Please.
1965, the Beatles win their first Grammy for Best Group of 1964.
Okay.
Same year, same day. Today's show's first totally color broadcast. Look where we
Wow.
are now. Almost
Yeah,
60
no
years
kidding.
later.
I didn't realize that was that long ago.
1969, Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? By Hanna-Barbera debuts on CBS in the U.S.
I like it.
Classic. 1971, Frank Robinson hits his 500th home run.
Wow. All right.
1985, Super Mario Bros. First game appears, created by Shigeru Miyamoto at Nintendo. Very, very important day in gaming history. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
big time.
1990, Law and Order, created by Dick Wolf, first premieres on NBC. Is that show
Law
still
and Order's
going?
31 years old.
Is it still going?
I think in some form or fashion. They had like 6 different Law and Orders at some point. So
I mean, hey, that's a
they had to
testament
invent new
success, I
days of the
guess.
week to keep up with the number of Law and Orders that they had.
And finally, 2018, Amazon live streams Thursday Night Football. Cincinnati beats Baltimore 34-23. It is the first all-female broadcast booth in NFL history.
Okay.
That'll conclude the events.
I didn't know that was a
happened.
thing.
Yeah,
I had no idea that even happened.
I couldn't tell you. I wasn't there to see it, but that is a big moment for this day in
First
history.
female, all-female broadcast booth. Do you know who was in it?
Andrea Kramer calls game
She's
with
good.
Hannah Storm.
Hannah Storm's good as well.
I see this is an absolute win, to
All
quote
right.
the Hulk.
Sure.
Now we're going on to birthdays. First and foremost, we have Tyler Perry turning 51.
Hey, all right.
Anyways, Playboy Cardi, 24. Don't listen to his music much, but hey, he's notable. Time to go with a German soccer player, as you like to say. Thomas Müller, 31 years old, absolute legend for Bayern Munich. Moving on, we have Jeff Ross and his old self turning 55, the roast master himself. is
Jeff Ross
55.
is underrated and should be out there a lot more than just the roasts. But he's
He does it
good.
really well, though.
Yeah, he does.
When you find your shtick, I mean, go with it.
Nobody better.
Colin Trevorrow turns 44. I think he was supposed to direct a Star Wars movie, but that didn't
Okay.
pan out. And then, of course, we mentioned it earlier in the show, Brad Johnson turns 53.
Oh yeah, Max Johnson's
Father
dad.
of Max Johnson.
Shout out.
For those
Happy
who
birthday.
don't know who he is for some reason. That'll conclude the birthdays. Now on to deaths. We start with one of the biggest, at least in the 90s. Tupac dies in 1996.
Yes.
Do you think he's still alive?
Yes, I do. But yeah, Tupac officially listed as dead as of today in 1996. This was it 4 days after he was shot? That sounds right. I'm doing this off of memory. I want to say he died 4 days after being shot multiple times.
I
So,
wasn't around for that, so I wouldn't know.
oh, so sad.
Okay, taking it to 2015, Moses Malone, legendary basketball center, died on this day.
All right.
And then finally for the deaths, we have Frank Vincent in 2017. If those who don't know him, he's
Wait, what?
from Casino and Goodfellas.
I didn't realize he passed.
This
Oh,
day in
man.
2017.
So he wrote. I got the chance to interview him. He wrote a book called "The Guy's Guide to Being a Man's Man." He's also Phil Leotardo from The Sopranos. By the way, Jake, just to bring you along here, know everything about The Sopranos from start to finish.
Okay.
I didn't realize that Phil Leotardo died.
That's a lot of homework, but I'll get on it.
Well, I mean, you got the new movie coming out next month.
I've only seen the trailer about
yeah.
1,000 times in advertisements.
Yeah, it's so good. It's going to be so great. But, yeah, Phil Leotardo. Goodness gracious. Anyway, yeah, Goodfellas, go home, get your shine box. That's him.
All right, well, that'll conclude the deaths time for the holidays. First off, we got International Chocolate Day. You a chocolate or sweets guy?
Chocolate.
Good. Me too. National Boss Employee Exchange Day. I don't really know what that means. Does that mean like I take your job or I take
No
my
clue.
manager's job? Who knows? National Kids Take Over the Kitchen Day.
Okay.
What? I don't know.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you. National Peanut Day.
Yeah. It's weird.
Very. Positive Thinking Day.
Okay.
We could all do with that. And then Uncle Sam Day.
Uncle Sam Day. That's also strange.
Couldn't tell you what
Why
it's
today?
for, but it's probably something patriotic.
All right.
But
So
that'll do it for me.
and it's also Supernatural Day, day that it was inspired by the long-running TV show. It's come to represent the celebration of all things mysterious. So I'm guessing the first one they had would have been on a Friday.
Yeah, I was about to
It was
say,
Friday the
that
13th,
makes
since
sense.
today is September the 13th. All right, well, that is this day in history, and we greatly appreciate it, Jake. Going to take a quick break. When we come back from that break, let's talk a little bit about Hurricane Ida recovery. Before we take that break, though, how'd you sleep last night? Tossing and turning, lumpy mattress, Maybe you need to upgrade. Maybe it's time to hit up the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet, 4065 Florida Boulevard in Mid-City. 4065 Florida Boulevard is their bigger location. Really big location of the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. Walk in, you just got rows and rows and rows of mattresses. The other location is the corner of Jefferson and Hoosier 2, 18181 Jefferson Highway if you're plugging into your phone. Mitch Kimball always has great deals going on, always has great financing going on, and always has this. If you mention you heard about it here, you get free delivery. Mention you heard it on Talk 107.3 FM. You get free delivery of your mattress at either location, 4065 Florida Boulevard or 18181 Jefferson Highway. If you've not yet tried out the hybrid mattress, I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. If you find that you sweat the bed a lot, maybe cooling gel is in your future. If you find that you need to change positions in your sleep, check out an adjustable base. Swing by 4065 Florida Boulevard. Tell Mitch what you're looking for. Get the whole Goldilocks experience and find the one that's right for you. Both locations of the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. The day you hold someone's feet to the fire about anything will be the first time. Hey, how's it going? Hey! Not in person, no. Yes. Likewise. Okay. Were we open up front? I was waiting for a text. Sometimes we're not fully open yet. Sometimes the office isn't. But if there's somebody to let you in, awesome.
Yeah, somebody let me in.
Okay.
So, but I'll just wait down there. And then you've got the notes and all that.
I sure do.
Good. Did you get my treat bag? You were on vacation.
Yes, I did.
I didn't know if Chuck P held it for himself.
Oh, no. I got it. In fact, been using the coffee mug. I think I lost the squishy ball to my 5-year-old. So, and the sticker has made its way to my laptop. So, yeah, big time. So Chuck produces the afternoon drive show. He was filling in for a good bit. Taylor has moved on to produce a lot of video stuff. So, yeah. I appreciate that. Good deal. All right, so you finally decided to reveal who you are. That's good. Had 2 birthdays of Stella McCartney's birthday. Is that Paul McCartney's daughter? I didn't know. That's why I didn't bring it up. And you did mention Tyler Perry, right?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't get my normal email with all the trivial sports stuff that I'm supposed to get every day. Didn't even come out this morning. Let's do this. 818, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hour 3 rolling right along. Going to talk about pediatric cancer research in our next segment. I got Kim Bowman from the Bella Bowman Foundation and Professor Wayne Newhauser from LSU hopping on board to talk about that. Right now, though, let's talk a little bit about, actually, I was going to talk about Ida recovery, Hurricane Ida recovery. We'll get to that in a minute. I do need to take just a second, though, to take a little bit closer look at where our COVID-19 numbers are. It feels like as the numbers are going up, the numbers are going up, the numbers are going up, and we report on it ad nauseum, right? Well, the numbers start going down, and everyone stops reporting on it. Well, let's take a moment. New numbers will come out at noon today. They don't report over the weekend. But couldn't help but notice on Friday, we had 2,173 new cases reported, 64 new deaths. Now, that's going to be a bad number until it gets down to zero. I get that. But it's not where it was 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago even. 1,755 COVID-19 patients in the hospital. That number is nowhere near where it was middle of August. It was August 17th or 18th. I don't remember which day specifically. I'm doing this off of memory. But the state maxed out at 3,022 COVID-19 patients in the hospital. To go from 3,022 down to 1,755 in a month's time is kind of remarkable. I mean, we're at, what, 60%, 58-ish% of where we were then? We dropped by 40% in a month? That's worth noting. And we're starting to see the repercussions of it elsewhere. For example, got this press release from Baton Rouge General on Friday. Baton Rouge General announced changes to their visitation policy. Effective immediately. 2 visitors are now allowed per patient in most areas from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 1 visitor is allowed to spend the night. The statewide mandate still requires masks at healthcare facilities, so all visitors and patients, in addition to employees, must wear a mask inside all 3 hospital locations. ICU visitation remains limited, but visitors may be allowed outside of regular hours in special circumstances after consultation with the care team. In Baton Rouge General's emergency departments, visitation is still limited to 1 per patient. It's progress. It's progress. Finally seeing some progress. This last, 2.5, 3 weeks? Well, 3 weeks at least, has been a downward trend. The numbers I don't think are where they're going to need to be for the governor to take his foot off the gas with a mask mandate. But at this point, I kind of have to ask the question, if the numbers are trending where they're going with the mask mandate, why would he take his foot off the gas with that? Like, we all want to be back to normal and everything. I get that. I'm so in that boat too. But if you're following where the cases are at, if you're following the percent positivity, which has dropped by 3% over the last week as well, 14% down to 11, if you're following those things, then it should become very clear that the more it's at the forefront, the better off we're doing. And I mean mandate-wise and whatnot. The better off we're doing. Now, that has to be balanced with leading our normal lives. Absolutely it does. But if you're looking forward to the end of this month and removing the mask for good, I just want to kind of set the tone now. I don't really see it happening. Probably going to get 1 more month out of it. And then it's going to depend on the Mu variant. Mu is a new one, I think. Which I can't believe we haven't seen the headline, mutation. That headline writes itself. But it's going to depend on that. And in order to depend on that, what's going to have to happen, they're going to have to start testing for individual variants again. Last time we talked with the governor, last time we talked with Dr. Joseph Cantor, both of them have said Delta variant was so widespread in our hospitals, they stopped testing to determine what variant it was. It was somewhere in the 90% range, like more than 94% of new cases were Delta variant. Well, if Delta can now be called, if not under control, then getting under control, do you already start to look ahead to the next one? And this is from the, ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure chapter. But if you're looking ahead to the next one, can we get it out in front of another surge before that surge happens? I don't think anybody wants to go through what we went through in July and the first half of August. Anyway, that's your COVID update. We're down to 1,755 COVID patients in the hospital. That is less than a month to get down from 3,022. It's a big number. All right, let's shift our focus to hurricane recovery. We had Ida roll through more than 2 weeks ago. You heard a little bit about this from our news at the bottom of the hour, or you're going to hear more in our news at the upcoming bottom of the hour. We're more than 2 weeks removed from Ida hitting southeast Louisiana. Actually, 2 weeks ago today, we were in the thick of it. For the most part, a lot of homes and businesses down in Lafourche and Terrebonne parishes still without power now. We're not completely out of the woods here in Baton Rouge in the capital area. We'll get back into that in a minute. But down in Lafourche and Terrebonne, it's still really bad. In fact, Entergy's president, Entergy Louisiana president and CEO Philip May says the repairs, they're just slow going right now.
Over the next several days, what you're going to see is a trend where likely we're not going to see another 80,000 customers restored again in this storm. It's going to be that tougher sledding, that more difficult customers to get back on.
We've seen this scenario play out before, right? You get around the municipal areas first. You get big chunks within cities after that, and then it starts to slow down quickly. Now, May is promising that everyone will eventually get their power back as crews continue to work as fast as possible to do so.
Our work is not done, and we will continue to have our teams on this until every last light is on.
Now, that remains true not just in southeast Louisiana, not just near the coast, but here in Baton Rouge as well. In fact, in East Baton Rouge Parish, we're still looking at 13 households without power. I mean, that's a remarkable number, but at the same time, though, it ain't zero. So let's go next door. In St. Helena Parish, they're still at 323. Livingston, 1,860. Over in Iberville, 8. Ascension, 742. Now where it really gets bad, Tangipahoa Parish. Click. There we go. 9,109. St. John the Baptist, 13,462. St. Charles, 18,100. Jefferson, 7,464. The aforementioned Lafourche and Terrebonne. Let's start with Lafourche. 26,479 are still without. Terrebonne, 20,625. Oh, by the way, if you're curious about Orleans Parish, they're down to 252. St. Bernard Parish is at 5. And Plaquemines Parish is still at 800. Plaquemines Parish is still at 850. So all in all, nobody's really off the board just yet. West Baton Rouge is off the board. Point Capee is off the board. East and West Feliciana are off the board. But as far as the capital region's concerned, Livingston's still very much a problem. Ascension's still very much a problem. And Baton Rouge still has a few up there. Back to Philip May. He says the Lafourche and Terrebonne area present a much bigger challenge when it comes to getting power restored.
This area is still very much focused on clearing up and removing debris, ensuring access, that type of thing. We are restoring what we can.
And that's part of the process. But at the same time, though, if you're someone who lives down there, it doesn't help you get back to life anytime sooner. A lot of debris, y'all. A lot of debris down that way. Anyway, and by the way, those are just the numbers from Entergy's perspective. There are other power companies out there that are still working towards getting folks back on, but don't think that those power numbers are the only power numbers out there. There's more people without power than just Entergy. I just read you Entergy because they're the largest provider in the state, and as such, you get the biggest sample size to go off of. A couple of other Hurricane Ida recovery notes, and we're going to have to check in on Nicholas before we hit news. This one coming from Mayor President Sharon Weston Broom's office. As part of the city parish's ongoing response to Hurricane Ida, Mayor President Sharon Weston Broom announced a debris collection map to provide updates on the status of debris removal in neighborhoods and promote transparency into the city parish's Hurricane Ida debris removal program. Quote, our debris removal crews are hard at work throughout East Baton Rouge, moving as quickly as possible to collect storm debris from Hurricane Ida and help our community recover from this devastating storm. With this map, we're combining our focus on using technology to improve city parish operations and providing transparency to the residents we serve. The map offers a real-time view of the debris removal process, helping residents understand the status of their neighborhoods and the progress our crews are making. If you haven't checked it out yet, I recommend checking it out, the debris removal app. And this is one of those ones where it would be important to note it, if not for looking in your own front yard. Like, there's a huge difference there. I can look at the map and see things all day long. This is like when we were tracking power coming back on. Until yours comes back on, nothing's gotten done, and then once yours is back on, you don't care anymore. Same thing here, right? Until your debris is removed, it feels like nothing's moved, and then once yours is removed, you stop paying attention and you get back to life. You sweep up those last few remaining leaves and you move back on. All right, we got a minute and a half before break. Good, that's enough time for me to get this in. Governor John Bell Edwards on Sunday declared a state of emergency for Louisiana in advance of Tropical Storm Nicholas, which is formed in the Gulf of Mexico, is forecasted by the National Weather Service to bring heavy rains and flash flooding to the state in the coming days. Affected areas by Hurricane Ida and Laura, areas affected by Hurricanes Ida and Laura and flash flooding earlier in the year could see impacts from this tropical weather. As of 6 p.m. yesterday, there were still more than 130,000 people without power because of Ida. Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness is they're up and running. They're activated. They're monitoring potential storm and ongoing recovery efforts at the same time and coordinating with both FEMA and parish offices of preparedness as well. And Nicholas, by the way, which is technically going to make landfall in Houston, is one of just 3 disturbances on the map. There are 2 more yellow X's out there. Both of them are still in the Atlantic. One's actually just off the coast of Africa right now. Both disturbances, the one that's closer to us is 100 miles north of the southeastern or central Bahamas. It's got a 50-50 shot at becoming a named storm in the next 5 days. The one that's just off the coast of Africa has an 80% chance of formation over the next 5 days. 30% chance of formation over the next 2 days. So we'll be keeping our eye on both of these as well. All right, let's take a quick break for news. Coming right back on Talk 107.3. Hey!
This should only be about a minute, right?
What? CBS is 1 minute. LRN is 2. Then traffic. You fire off traffic and break at the same time. Then we're back at it after weather. All right, let me move over so they can both sit down. I'm going to move over to mic 2. Fewer families had to shelter with others than were in Tiger Stadium on Saturday. Am I still on camera?
Yeah, I think so.
Want to make sure there's room for all three.
It looks like y'all should be all good. You're perfectly in
Okay.
line if there is.
Good. I mean, 148 yards. He threw for 148 yards, and you saw that, like, the pass to Deontay Harris was 50 of them. Like, basically, he threw for 5 touchdowns, and he had 9 completions for what, 1 yard apiece on top of that?
It's a weird performance if you look at the box score.
I know. So I watched the first half and listened to the second half on the radio, and he looked good. He looked poised. He looked like he was out there to run the damn team.
Do you think Jameis is the future? One game, keep in mind, but
For a 1-game sample size, yes.
ain't too bad.
Right. Let's see what he does after he goes up against a defense run by Bill Belichick. Let's see what he does after going up against studs like Tampa Bay's defense.
I mean, Packers defense is no slouch, though. I mean,
No,
they're
no
not like
slouch,
upper
but-
echelon, but they're.
But the Packers are known for Aaron Rodgers.
I was expecting to get destroyed by the Packers, if I'm honest.
I thought the Saints were going to win. I just didn't think it was going to look like that. I thought it was going to be Alvin Kamara's show all day long. How's it going? Hey. No, all good. All good. We're in a break. I didn't know on-air lights on whether we're on or not. Because we're always on YouTube. So.
Professor Newhauser.
Okay. Come on in. Have a seat.
Okay.
I don't know if we've ever met in
I don't
person.
think so. I'm Kim.
I'm Brian.
Nice to meet you.
Likewise.
So, okay. I don't know where Dr. Newhauser. I hope he's coming.
Do what?
I hope Dr. Newhauser is here soon. What time do we get? We go on at 8:40.
Yeah. Yeah. So, camera's right there.
Oh, okay.
Which, yeah, we're on YouTube. If you look up.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yes.
Okay. Now, do I keep my mask on? Or
That's well, your level of comfort.
Okay.
Your level of comfort. If you're more comfortable with it on, I understand. But you'll sound better. You'll sound clearer.
not?
Less
Yeah,
muffled.
that's what I was thinking. If it's
So,
okay, I'll take.
a lot of folks will just leave it on until. But I'm
Okay.
vaccinated.
I'm vaccinated
totally
as
not worried
well.
about it. Yeah.
Okay, and I have nobody at home with COVID, so okay. Well, I appreciate you doing this.
No, absolutely. I've done a couple of fundraisers for the Adult Family Foundation before.
Have you? Okay.
So I'm actually my second stint here at Talk 173. I
Okay.
remember doing one of my first stint.
Okay.
And yeah, but it's like I took back over the show about 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
So the overwhelming majority of the time I've been back on the air has been COVID. Like I took back over in April of 2019. So I got 2019 in, and then once 2020 started, I was like, forget about it. So most nonprofits are just hard pressed to get people to do anything right now.
Yeah.
It's a struggle right now.
It is. We we postponed. Well, we had our big event, Bella's Ball, is once a year, and it's usually in March. And so last year we had to postpone it till September, and then we couldn't have it in September, so we just went virtual. And then this year we were supposed to have it last week, and now we postponed it to December 1st. So.
How's it going?
Just fine. We don't have to whisper?
No. I mean, we're always on YouTube, but we'll be back on the air in about 20. Well, I'll be on in about 20 seconds, and I'll bring y'all in.
I'm going to head back to campus and listen to y'all.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thanks for the talking points, Nina.
Yes.
Absolutely. And Brian, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Oh no, my pleasure.
I mean, especially, I didn't realize it was Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month. So
Neither did I.
Yes.
Miss Bowman just told me.
All right.
Yes.
Bye, y'all.
September. Thank you. Yes, September is pediatric cancer awareness.
How have you been?
I'm good. How are you?
Just fine, thank you.
It's so good to see you. I feel like it's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been way too long. This pandemic was
838 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Want to shift gears here and completely shift the focus, get away from Hurricane Ida, away from prepping for whatever we're going to get from Tropical Storm Nicholas. Want to move over and talk a little bit about pediatric cancer research, and I want to welcome in Kim Bowman and Dr. Wayne Newhauser from LSU. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Swing that on around. Get you both all geared
All right.
up here.
Thank you. Good
All
morning.
right. So Kim, obviously, Kim Bowman. So we'll be talking about Bella Bowman and the Bella Bowman Foundation, and a lot about pediatric cancer research as well, because a lot's been going on in that regard. But I want to start with the Bella Bowman Foundation, if we can.
Okay.
Can you, for those who are unfamiliar, just tell Bella's story very quickly?
Sure. Bella is my daughter, and she was diagnosed with a brain tumor in 2011. And that was early. That was actually New Year's Day, 2011. And so she had a very successful surgery, and she went and had radiation with the St. Jude Research Hospital. She was taken care of very good, and all year long we just kept doing treatments. And towards the end of the year, in October, November, she started showing signs of maybe another tumor, but it was actually radiation necrosis, which means that the radiation was just working a little too well, that they had done in February, March. Mm-hmm. So we went back to the hospital and we started doing some other treatments that may help, but really there's nothing really proven to stop the necrosis. It was actually inside her brainstem, so surgery was not an option. But then we decided that in December, when things weren't really working, we decided to just stop treatment, and she passed away on December 23rd, 2011. So it was the last 10 days of her life were the most amazing days we had with her.
Really?
Yes. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but, the community here in Baton Rouge and the Our Lady Lake Children's Hospital and St. Jude just really came through and made those lasting memories for us, those last 10 days.
Dr. Newhauser, let's bring you in here with the mention of the radiation necrosis. Let's talk about that a little bit and how that's approached and where we're at when it comes to studying it.
Sure. It's a rare but potentially fatal side effect of radiation therapy, as Kim mentioned. And because it's rare, it's quite difficult to get good data to study it, why it happens, who it's going to affect, how to manage it, and ultimately how to prevent it from ever happening. So we know that it occurs in somewhere between about 4 and 25% of all radiotherapy patients. Most of the time it's goes undetected because they're just, it's so mild there are no symptoms. But occasionally it's life-threatening. So it's not well understood, and it's not an easy problem to try to understand, and this is exactly the kind of thing that researchers look for and want to try to tackle.
With it being so rare, how do you go about trying to find areas to research here?
We tried a number of different avenues, and we're actually running several in parallel. The first is always to try to look at some clinical data and see if we can find explanations, plausible explanations for cases that did occur. And we tried this in the early 2010s, and by about 2013, 2014, it was apparent that this wasn't going to get us where we needed to go, so we went with a very much more fundamental approach to the research, which is really trying to understand at a microscopic level what's going on, and then building up from there.
Let's bring this back around to the Bella Bowman Foundation. Y'all's role has been in cancer research overall. Has this shifted where the focus is?
Oh, definitely. When we started the foundation just a couple months after she had passed, we wanted to give a lot of things. We wanted to do a lot of things. And as a parent, you just want to give back to so many who helped you. So when we created the foundation, we decided that we wanted to have one part of the foundation for research. We really weren't looking to cure cancer because that's something that was way too big for what we could do.
Right.
But what was really, in our hearts for Bella was radiation necrosis and, children with brain tumors, how even if they survive, how they are affected by radiation and treatments. And so we really wanted to focus there. And it was really crazy. My husband and I, we read this article about Dr. Newhauser coming to LSU, and literally in our backyard, here he is, this man that could possibly be the person who can help us with this research. And we met with him for 3 hours, and we realized that we had a very big, great bond together, and that's how this really all got started for us to use our funds to help fund the research that he's been doing with his PhD students.
Dr. Newhauser, how do you avoid a chicken and egg situation? If it's something that's so rare and not a lot of people know about, where do you find the starting point here to get other researchers on board, to generate more funds to pay for this research? I mean, it would seem like getting the bat off the shoulder would be the hardest part of this process.
That's exactly right, Brian, and that's why the Bowman's vision in their philanthropic work were so important. They provided the seed funding that got the ball rolling, and it's snowballed since then. So to answer the question of how do you go about doing that from a technical side, rather than waiting for rare cases to occur, what we've done is to build up a computer simulation capability of the vasculature of the human body. And we've been able to model how radiation affects that. So we can conduct as many experiments as we want without having to harm any animals or other mammals. And we can run these without being encumbered by the time lag and expense and ethics of doing more traditional types of research. So this is kind of a way to get things going in high gear in the beginning. Ultimately, we'll have to do some of that, but for now, to get things started, it's a faster approach.
Okay, so this is where my head's going to outpace my heart, or my heart's going to outpace my head, because this is intriguing. This sounds like, for lack of a better term, cancer AI. I mean, is this like being able to explore every possible scenario out there without actually having a human involved?
In fact, you're quite right. So the human body has about 20 billion vessels in it, and this is beyond, even let's say in the brain has about 9 billion vessels. This is beyond what anyone can sift through in a spreadsheet and so forth. So we're applying statistical models. We'll be applying AI and a variety of other techniques to try and better understand what confluence of factors lead to significant radiation necrosis.
How do you write the? Well, okay, I don't want to get too far. I'm baffled by how do you write the program. So how do you get to the part where experimenting through this sort of program can translate to humans, to know that you're going from not from paper to people, but from program to people?
Well, when I figure it out, we'll let you know. Okay. But in the meantime, we just kind of put one foot in front of the other and work in small steps. Yeah. So we've identified the biggest, what we think is the biggest problem, and we're tackling that first, which is to have some really good computer models where we can do experiments all day, every day. And then the model has to be validated. So eventually we'll have to irradiate things like plant leaves, and then perhaps mice, perhaps rabbit ears, things like that to validate the model. And eventually we'll retrospectively look at the outcome from some cancer patients who've been diagnosed with necrosis, and then try to explain with mechanistic arguments what happened. And through this gradual process of going from idea to theory to some sort of a rule that works, we're hoping that we can give clinicians some decision-making tools so they can prescribe treatments in a way that radiation necrosis never occurs again.
We've got about 2.5 minutes left. What kind of team do you have on this?
It changes. I've got a bunch of colleagues in various departments at LSU. I've got students who do a lot of the research, really I would say a bulk of the actual hands-on research. And then there are, of course, the Bowmans have been partners in this from get-go. And we have a variety of other folks around the country who provide ideas and so on. So it's quite an interesting and diverse team.
Before we get y'all out of here, we're going to shift from team to funding, which brings us back to the Bowman Foundation, the Bella Bowman Foundation. Kim, what level of support is needed here, and what kind of results have you been able to show to back up what Dr. Newhauser is getting done? Well,
of course, we would love to have any type of donation, and you can go to our website at bellabowman.org. But we met with a couple of his PhD students when they were graduating. I think it was 2019. And one of the girls, Lydia, she actually said to us that, Bella has changed her life and that she has decided to go the route to work at St. Jude Research Hospital. And she's there now, and she's actually teaching other students coming in. And she says that when she is doing anything, she looks at them as being Bella and as the Bowmans, because as the family, like it's really amazing to know that Bella has touched so many people and is making a change in our lives and making a change for other children who are diagnosed with brain cancer.
Where can folks go to learn more?
So you can learn more at our website at www.bellabowman.org. And we are also on all social media aspects, Instagram and Facebook. But the website will lead you to everything you need to know, how we're doing our fundraising and all the things that the press release that we just had with LSU, just to kind of follow that route as well. And we'd love to see you visit it, and please reach out to us.
And every level of help is appreciated right now, if for no other reason than because of the pandemic over the last 19 months. The traditional ways that folks go about trying to raise money has been curbed because of, like, we can't get together, we can't have Bella's Ball, right. We can't, do the things that we've always known how to do to help out. So visit the website to check things out and possibly help. In the meanwhile, Kim, Dr. Wayne Newhauser, thank you all so much for coming in today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
We've got Your Money Now coming your way, then we're closing it out next on Talk 107.3. Was I anywhere close on that?
That was awesome.
Yeah.
I perked right up as soon as you hit this.
Yeah.
Writing programs to just basically your video gaming cancer at this point.
Oh my gosh, you got it. How did you get it so quickly? I still don't get it half the time.
I didn't want to phrase it like that because I didn't want to bring up images of the 49ers are going to the Super Bowl because I played Madden. But that's kind of the same parallel here. Is like you're walking through.
Yeah. A lot of the computer hardware that we use now was actually originally developed for video games. As there's just so many people playing video games that the economies of scale made it cheap for us to do other projects.
Well, I'd say that's the way it your video gaming cancer. That's
yeah.
So. All right. Well, that's golly.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing.
Look back on this and look at it. That's monumental.
Yeah, it has been.
We hope to make more than a dent in this. We hope to eliminate this problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we think we can.
We can. We will.
We can help whenever we can help. We're here. So.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having us, and of course, bringing awareness is wonderful.
Made this so fun.
Oh, glad to hear it. No. We're easy around here.
Okay, let me ask you this: is
yes.
there any way I can share that?
Absolutely.
On my social media?
First of all, the YouTube link, please, and you can tell people, hey, skip the boring first 2 hours and go right to it, and with a timestamp. But the audio is going to be posted on demand as well.
Okay.
And that's going to be at talk1073.com.
Okay, so just go.
Oh crap! Could you snap a pic so we get it? Okay. We try to make it look like we'll grab a pic from inside the segment.
Do you put
I'll
it on
forward
your social media, or can you forward anything to me?
I'll forward it all to Mimi.
Yeah, send it to me, or send it to Mimi. I'll get Mimi to send it to me, and then I'll start posting
it. We'll post it on our MedFizz website too.
I appreciate it.
Well,
thank y'all.
You. Appreciate
Thanks so
you.
much.
Nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Okay. Bye. Thank you.
Video gaming cancer. I realize my mind works in a very rudimentary manner, but remember that movie War Games? No, you don't remember War Games. 84. Matthew Broderick. '83. Excuse me. Oh. Oh, no. Get ready for vaccine cancellations. Part of the vaccine is it has to remain frozen, like well below the freezing temperature. What happens if that refrigerator loses power? What? Oh, kill the mics real quick. Fired it right. Yeah. Do I have any more live reads?
No.
Shit, who am I missing?
You did VOPT, you did mattress, you did Therns, you did
Mooyah.
Mooyah.
Do I have anything that doesn't start with an M? No, BRPT does not start with an M. Neither does Complete Collision, which I also did that one. What's the butt? Ghost Limb isn't until tomorrow. They're not every day. They don't do Mondays.
So we're all good.
All right. And Louisiana Beef Industry Council is technically done, but I'm bonusing them this week anyway because vacation. A56 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane. Closing out. We got one more segment to go here before we hand you off to the Fox News rundown. Normally this is where I tease what's coming up for the rest of the day. I have not seen a press conference scheduled for the governor today, which in the wake of Hurricane Ida, he's been getting after it pretty much every day, and then having his weekly COVID-19 press conference as well last Friday. But I don't see anything on the calendar as of yet. That might change as the day wears on. Of course, if he does have something, we'll have it for you. The governor did declare a state of emergency in advance of Tropical Storm Nicholas. I want to thank Dr. Newhauser and Kim Bowman for stopping by. I'm amazed by this research. It's crazy. I didn't know it when the interview started, and then as he got around to what they're doing, the cancer AI, he's basically, and this is going to sound crude, but he's video gaming cancer. It reminded me of the movie, remember War Games, 1983, War Games with Matthew Broderick, where the computer tries to teach itself how to win in global thermonuclear war, and then starts running scenario after scenario after scenario, and the computer's doing that at a ridiculously fast clip, faster than humans could. That's the image I got in my head. Now, hopefully this program would have a better result than that, but the comparison is there, and I appreciate their time for hopping on board this morning to talk about it. We have got to get out of here. Let me tell you what's coming up tomorrow. Adam Knapp from that. No, not Adam Knapp from Baton Rouge Area Chamber. We'll have the Baton Rouge Area Chamber on at 7:15. I believe Baton Rouge Police Chief Murphy Paul is going to hop on board at 7:35. Want to talk about the wake of Ida. What have we seen in Baton Rouge post-Ida, and how does it compare to what we've seen from other storms in the past? Also, letting you know this right now, we are going to have someone from FEMA on at 8:40 tomorrow morning. I've gotten a number of complaints from folks who heard about the generator reimbursement program. They were without power for an extended period of time. They went out and bought a generator. They went to get reimbursed, and they were told to stick it. Not in those words. But I went back, I read every regulation or every guideline on the website, could not for the life of me find what they were looking for. I went back and listened to the previous interviews I'd done with Nathan Custer from FEMA. Could not find what I'm looking for. And every single person who emailed me or contacted me in some way, shape, or form, one guy was on Facebook as well, said the same thing. They were told no because they didn't have damage to their home. But there's nothing that stipulated you had to have damage to your home. You just had to be without power. And now they're told, no, sorry. You went out and spent $800 for nothing. So how do we get to the bottom of that? Is it simple as like calling back and saying, oops, we got it wrong. Oops, we didn't tell you ahead of time? Or are they just stuck? Which would, I mean, I don't know why you'd have to have damage to your home. If you're without power, you're without power. I mean, everybody's in that boat at that point. I'm not getting a generator because of damage. I'm getting a generator because of power. So FEMA's coming up tomorrow as well. All right, we got to get out of here. Fox News Rundown's coming up next, right here on Talk 107.3 FM. Yup. That's, hey, not just Garrett. That was what FEMA said as well.
So we do our Monday morning meetings in here with Haldane. We just have a little party.
Good to have you aboard, Jay.
If you're wondering why we're all in here, that's what we do.
Yes, I'm sorry. YouTube, I got to go. It's Monday. We do our Monday meeting.